Welcome back! Well, guess what, guys? My string of forgetfulness is continuing again here on Tatooine. I totally forgot to get something that we came for here in the Star Map Cave. And that is the holocron for Bastila's mother. Somehow I just totally missed that the first time. I guess I just was so fascinated by the star map and ready to face Calo Nord in battle that I just totally lost sight. But now we've got the holocron, and now we are leaving behind this area for good. And I don't believe we have any reason to come back to the Eastern Dune Sea anymore. But for now, what we need to do is go back to the Sand People territory, and we'll hear about their history. Now, as you probably could tell by now, this is entirely optional. You don't have to do this, but I thought it'd be fun to do, because A, it's a side quest that gives you a lot of insight into what's happened with them before this particular era. And I just think that's very interesting, gives them a lot more depth than, say, the movies had, where they were just savage people. And B, because we can't understand them, HK-47 is going to have to do the translation for us, and we all know how much fun that's going to be. So let me go ahead and just switch out our party again. I think I will go ahead and just put Bastila and HK back, because we're going to need to have Bastila around for her mother here in a little bit. And both of them can level up, so let's go ahead and take care of that. Let me give you demolitions. Awareness, why not? And Bastila, what should we do with you? Can't get heal until the next level, I don't believe. Or I believe. And we can't get Master Valor yet. I think I'll get Stasis for her too. There we go.
Ready?
Sure.
Ready! Well, guess what? I'm ready too, HK. You're not alone, buddy. Now, right now, I just want you all to just imagine what it was like to just run through this desert without using force speed. It was excruciatingly tedious. And this is why I immediately cut to the star map cave at the beginning of this video, because I mean, I didn't want to have you guys watch all that running around. Alright, let's go ahead and talk to the chieftain. Hopefully he hasn't changed his mind about our agreement or anything, but I don't think so, otherwise we'd be having people attacking us. Looks like they're pretty docile. Docile. I can't pronounce anything today. Let's see here. There he is. The Sand People chieftain seems grateful to you, or at least less inclined to smash your head open like a pocky grub seed.
Query. What do you wish to ask of him, Master? Protocol. This will be a very sensitive topic, Master. You will want to be careful with your questions or risk offending him. Not that that is much of a worry. Translation. Translation. You have been told that to be considered worthy of hearing the histories, you need to bring him a dragon pearl from a crate dragon.
Well, we got one.
Translation.
Here we go.
Translation. Translation. He is stupefied, Master. He never thought you could return with such an item. Such a thing has not been done in many years. Translation. He will allow you to meet the storyteller, but also gives a warning. If you dare to repeat the histories incorrectly, you will be killed. Translation. The storyteller will be summoned to one of the rooms here in the Enclave. He seems to think this is a great honor for you, Master.
Alright.
Translation. Translation. We are free to leave.
Excellent. I believe the storyteller is... Here we go, here he is. Seems like all the Sand People are just a little bit hurt. Well, not these two, but the ones we met out in the desert with the Banthas, and now this guy. Compared to the warriors that you've encountered, the Sand People storyteller is relatively calm in his movements and speech, but he still regards you coldly.
Translation. He identifies himself as the storyteller, Master. He has been told of your warrior skills and will speak the history to you.
So they speak the history? That doesn't exactly seem like a very accurate way to tell history. I mean, it just seems like a giant telephone game.
Translation. Translation. Theirs is an oral history, Master, an active part of their lives. It is only permitted to relay the tales face to face. Translation. A book or datapad can be taken away, cheapening the value of what it contains. To commit it to paper or storage is to remove it from the people.
I guess I can understand that, but what if the people you've entrusted it with don't pass it on?
Translation. Translation. He says that you dare not question the accuracy of his information. The stories are learned perfectly by each successive storyteller. Translation. In fact, they aren't allowed to speak the stories aloud unless they are exact. Any error is considered a blasphemy punishable by death. Criticism.
Ouch.
It seems inefficient to me, Master. A score of apprentice storytellers would be slaughtered each generation. What if the elder died before completing the teachings?
That's what I've been wondering.
Translation. Apprentices are trained from birth. Very few speak the words in error. Storytellers are most often lost in battle between tribes. Translation. Any tribe that loses its storyteller is obviously unworthy of existing. They lose their connection to history and destroy themselves with infighting soon after.
Well, it seems like an interesting way to pass history on.
Translation. You may choose to hear the history, or you may choose not to. Their history is a single entity that cannot be partitioned. Translation. The only exception is in continuing the tales once they have begun. If you leave, when you return, he will continue from where he left off.
This is just the game's mechanic to give you some leeway in case you don't want to hear all of it at once, but we'll go ahead and hear all of it.
Translation. Translation. Though the land was beautiful, they lived apart from the land. They built their walls high and saw beyond the horizon. They dared to reach the stars. Translation. There are no words for how long ago this was. It was before the outsiders, before the abduction, before the cities fell, before the builders.
The builders? Wait a second. Are the builders the race that had done the or created the Starforge?
Cautionary. I should warn you, Master, that any questioning of their interpretation may be seen as trying to change the meaning of what was said. Clarification. They may consider this to be speaking the words in error, a blasphemy they would attempt to kill you for.
Okay.
Clarification. It would appear that they once had a thriving technologically advanced society, but were wiped out by a much more sophisticated alien species. Negative. I am no library, but since there is no Republic record of this planet having sentient life before Zerka colonization, I doubt you will find such evidence.
Interesting. I want to ask about these builders.
Translation. He only understands the builders as an iconic force meant to test the resolve of his people. He is not making sense, Master. Clarification. They claim their stories are repeated unchanged, but they have demonized these builders. In their minds, they wreaked such havoc they could not possibly be flesh and blood.
That's kind of odd, considering that if the stories are meant to be told perfectly, you'd think that there would be some description of the builders that was also passed on perfectly from generation to generation.
Cautionary. Master, this line of questioning may be interpreted as attempting to change the story. He may react poorly.
If you have a question that you ask and HK says that and you click just do it, he will start attacking you. So how long ago was Tatooine this conducive to life growing? That's what I'm wondering.
I don't believe he can, Master. Even if their stories are exact and unchanged, it is likely they were first told thousands of years after these events occurred. This has become very much like a creation myth for his people. There is no date. It simply was. Cautionary. Obedient. I will ask whatever you wish, Master.
Okay, well, let's continue the history then.
Translation. His arrogant people touched the stars, and this sin drew the attention of the builders. The builders did not touch the stars, they lashed them to millstones. Translation. Great demons of metal stripped the world of its riches, until all that was left was the green of the ground. The great cities were lifted away. Translation. Those that had used the wealth were taken along with it. Transgressors abducted to serve past the sky, seeding the stars with penitent, adaptable slaves. Cautionary.
Let's ask about this time of enslavement. And I accidentally skipped this thing right here. I don't really know why the game is doing this.
Translation. Translation. He has no number. He claims that those that were taken were examples of the worst of his kind, arrogant and uncaring of the land. Doubtful. Master, this is just another distortion due to their demonization of the builders. It's like claiming an aspect of his people were taken, not actual individuals. Clearly, history has colored his view. Of course, only the inferior meatbags were taken. The remaining were his ancestors, after all. It must have been special.
I love HK's commentary on all of this. Of course, if we say this, that would not be very good.
The same reason Zerka Corporation is attempting it now. Expanding empires need tremendous amounts of resources. Obedient. Translation. Translation. There came a time when the builders were also judged for their crimes. After generations, a plague weakened them, and the time of the Great War began. Translation. The builders faltered, and his people realized why they had been punished, so that they understood the crime, and would now strike down the greater offender. Translation. They worked chaos in the machines, so they destroyed themselves. The builders fought back, laying waste to the green that had been misused with fire from above. Translation. Soil became glass, grinding to sand, but the fight was long planned, and his people were safe. Deep in cave homes carved from valley wall, they were free. Cautionary. Clarification. The occupying force suffered some sort of species-wide plague that lowered their numbers over time. His people used this extended weakness to sabotage their larger ships. The response of the builders appears to have been to lay waste to the entire surface of Tatooine.
That's pretty harsh. Also, I wonder how in the world they were able to lay waste to an entire planet's surface. That's pretty crazy.
They didn't, Master. They struck a blow, but the storyteller only believes they won because the builders were gone when they emerged from their caves. That does not mean they defeated anyone. It seems clear that the builders simply sterilized their problem and left. The enemy judged them not worthy to fight.
I really don't want to ask him if that's a possibility, because I know where that line of questioning is going to go.
Clarification. I may not have properly conveyed how long they fought with the builders. Given time, any number of armaments could destroy a world. Hypothesis.
Okay.
Perhaps this is another distortion. Their climate may have begun to fail due to their unrestrained development even before the builders arrived. Looking back thousands of years later, such a shift could easily be attributed to the much-hated conquerors.
No, I'm not going to suggest that to him.
Hypothesis. If his people were moving away from technology for a long time under the builders, they may have had extensive cave systems that could grant shelter. I would also suggest that, given the evidence of the massive shift in the nature of their society, most of them did not survive. Translation. Editing, if I may, Master. This section of his tale details several millennia of the Long Walk, their nomadic wanderings as they accept their identity in a desert world. Rather than strain my circuits on his dialect, might we just assume there was much fighting over who has the biggest bantha and move on to more recent things?
But you're doing so well. No, come on.
Resignation. Very well, Master. Translation. The tribes spread far, distant from each other, but all the Sand People and all cherished the land that remained. The sand would not be misused. Translation. Then machines fell from the stars again, outsiders like you that brazenly walked apart from the land. And greater still was the insult to come. Translation. These outsiders reminded them of their past transgression, of the time when they too walked apart from land. The outsiders, your kind, looked like their ancient abducted. Translation. So it is to the current sons that the Sand People hate all outsiders and give them no footing. You come again, time after time, adaptable slaves to the machine. Cautionary. Clarification. The response.
Whoops.
Looking
No.
Impatient.
Long walk. Here we go.
Master, I refuse to inconvenience you with this. He spouted names of petty tribal fights in deserts so distant they might as well be across the galaxy. Really, Master, I'm sure it's important to him, but it has nothing of value that you could ever put to use. Agreement. Of course, Master. Just no more of their inane wandering.
Okay, so we really can't ask him about the long walk.
Obedient. Translation. Translation. The tribes spread far, distant from each other, but all the Sand People and all cherished the land that remained. The sand would not be misused. Translation. Then machines.
Oh, I guess, well, we did hear this.
Editing.
Okay, here we
The
go.
last 1,000 years are full of conflicts with different groups of attempted planetary settlers, all of whom are poorly described, long dead, and likely untraceable. I believe I have truncated it down to the usable bits in what was already said. I hope it is enough, Master. Cautionary. Clarification. They appear to hate humanity with a passion only rivaled by their hatred of the builders. For some reason, you resemble what they once were. Perhaps there is a lingering fear that you are their tainted selves returning from exile among the stars.
This is something that I've actually wondered for quite a while, is what's under all of these wrappings? I mean, what do their heads look like? I mean, I'm assuming that these things on their head are just coverings, and that the horns here are just decorations or something, but maybe they are natural, I don't know.
Cautionary. Master, if you mean to suggest that humanity is ancestrally linked to ancient Tatooine, you will strain his belief system to its pitiful meatbag maximum.
Okay, we won't.
Cautionary. Clarification, perhaps.
Okay, I guess that was the only question.
Translation.
Is that it? I think that's it.
Now that you have heard the whole of the history, you may select a piece of it to hear again.
Okay, cool.
Obedience. Translation. Translation. We are free to leave.
Alright. We didn't get any XP for that? Aww. I thought we would have gotten a lot of XP for listening to that. But still, I find that very interesting. It was very much what I was kind of expecting to hear. You know, they were one of the first settlers here, and then outsiders came and whatnot. But the part about the builders is the most intriguing, because it ties into what we're doing right now with the star maps. So I'm very curious to know where this is going, as far as who the builders were and what they were doing with all these people. It sounds like they were quite a big empire, not only based on what we heard here, but also based on what we heard from the droid in the Tatooine ruins. We're definitely going to investigate this further as we continue along our journey. Maybe on these other planets we might be able to get a bit of an idea of what the builders were doing there, if they had installed star maps on those locations. But for now, we are going back to Anchorhead. And I think once we get out here to the Dune Sea, we can just teleport there. In fact, we might have been able to do that all the way back in the Sand People area. Let's just go ahead and do it here. I think it will be a little bit faster. Now, I don't think we've gotten Force Persuade yet. Let me just check that just to be sure. Powers. Yeah, we don't. Because we're going to need that to get the result I'm hoping to get with the Nico situation. We will, however, be coming back to Tatooine again later on, so... Uh-oh. Really? That's odd. Okay, I'm not sure I really buy this. Okay. Achuta. Well, let's take a look at this datapad. That's rather curious, because I don't think we dropped anything. Datapad. This datapad contains a single short cryptic message. The Genoharadun say to see Hulas on Manan. Come alone or not at all. Well, that's certainly curious. We're going to be going to Manan here later on, so maybe we'll get to stop by and see this Hulas. That's the swoop track. Other than that, though, I think we're pretty much done here. We just have Nico and we got Bastila's mother.
Back already? Have you even looked for the holocron yet?
I have the holocron, Mother. I'm just not sure I want to give it to you.
And why not? Would you deny me even that?
I've never denied you anything, Mother. You may think I don't remember what it was like before I left for the Order, but I do. You were the one who pushed Father to go on one treasure hunt after the other. You loved living in wealth. You think I don't remember the fights? You were eager to send me to the Jedi even though I didn't want to go. You took Father away from me. And now this holocron is all I have of him.
Fool girl. You have a strange way of remembering things. That wasn't...
No, I don't wish to argue with you any more, Mother. It's time we parted ways now, for both our benefit.
Well, I'd like to hear her side of the story, though.
You
And
don't
maybe
know
Bastila
her.
should as well.
My mother is notoriously deceptive when she wants something. Why should she have the holocron?
Is it too difficult to believe that I am a dying woman who simply wishes to see her husband one last time?
I find it difficult to believe anything you say, Mother.
That may be true, but impending death has a way of changing one's perspective.
You're right. It shames me, but I find it difficult to let go of the past. I'm sorry, Mother.
I was hard on you, dear. I wasn't a very good mother to you. I know that. Your father loved you so. He wanted you to be just like him. He wanted to take you on his hunts, but I said they were too dangerous. I always tried to keep him from the dangerous ones, but he would have none of it. It was a reckless life we led. Always moving. I didn't want that for you.
So that's why you gave me to the Order?
What do your father and I have to show for all those years of hunting? Nothing. That was no life for anyone, especially not someone as gifted as you, your father. He spent all his last years trying to pay for my treatments. That's why he went for the pearls. I begged him not to, but
Your treatments.
I'm dying, Bastila. I did not lie about that. It's been a long time in the coming, and there's really nothing that can be done anymore. I told your father to let me go, but you know how he was. Stubborn, like you.
I'm so sorry, Mother. I don't know what to say.
Keep the holocron, Bastila. It would do me good to know you have it. This talking to you. This is what I really needed before I
know. Thank you. I'm glad we talked too.
Well, now. You said you had important business, and you were never one to mince words. You there. You take care of my daughter, you hear me?
You can count on it. And also, I have a feeling that Bastila will also take care of me too. We'll both be there for each other.
I'll feel a lot better knowing there's someone to watch her.
Where are you going to go?
It doesn't matter, dear. Don't you worry about me.
Here, take these 500 credits. It's all I have. Go to Coruscant and find a doctor. I'll meet you there after what I have to do.
But I already told you there's nothing that can...
Please take it. I want to see you again, when we can talk.
All right, I will. You do what you have to, Bastila. You go make your father and I proud.
I'll try. Farewell, Mother.
I really enjoyed that scene a lot. If you can get a good ending to that quest, I think it's a very nice ending, and it gives a lot more perspective to Bastila as well. It helps us realize just what kind of childhood she had, and just the kind of bitterness that has seeped into her and made her into the person she is today. And it's a struggle that has appeared many times and surfaced as we've gotten to know her. But I think she's on the right path, and I think this really helped her a lot. I just want to read this. Bastila and her mother have parted on good terms. Her mother insisted Bastila keep the holocron, and while she is indeed dying from an illness, Bastila promised to try and help her once the mission is done. While Bastila is sad that her father is dead, she is happy that her relationship with her mother looks hopeful. Whoops. We also got a new quest, Geno Haradun. A Twi'lek named Seni Vec has given you a datapad he claims you dropped. On the datapad is a cryptic message. The Geno Haradun say to see Hulas on Manan. Come alone or not at all. Well, that's about all we can do here. Let's go... Oh, we can talk to Bastila one more time.
How can I help?
Let's ask her about what she feels right now.
Yes. That brought me a lot of peace. More than I thought it would have. Thank you for urging me toward it. After all my training, I would have thought it would have been easier. Apparently, I still have much to learn.
You're welcome. Well, let's go ahead and head back to the Ebon Hawk and move onward. As I said earlier before Seni Vec gave us the datapad, we'll come back to Tatooine later on. And when we do, I'll be sure to stop in the swoop race area. But for now, it's onward. We're going to make a stop at Yavin before we go to our next planet. And of course, we're going to also equip everybody with all the new stuff we've got. But for the most part, it doesn't look like we've really gotten a whole lot of new stuff. Well, we'll continue on in the next video.